Premadana Una Pracho Anilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Gahamora Swaduprupa Kahasanantan Kahadasaragunata Patita Pavan Gahamora Bata Yuga Kahat Kaviraj Eka Kali Kota Gila Goranataraj Prasane Koti Bomata Anale Vashivo Goranga Gunera Niri Kota Gele Bavo Shesaba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Vilas Se Sangana Paya Kande Narottamadas Jayanilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Ginivardhari Jaya Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Stotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Saraswat A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Avirbhav Mahotsava Srila Ishvara Puri Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hare Krishna. My pleasure to be here in North Carolina with so many senior disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One of my friends in Los Angeles, His Grace Ganganath Prabhu, has always reminded me that whenever we speak Krishna Katha or whenever we are preaching, that there should be a result in the preaching. The result should be that either people are buying Srila Prabhupada's books, people are committing to the process of chanting Hare Krishna, or one is attracting the blessings of senior Vaishnavas. So I sincerely hope that whatever I'm able to speak today will attract the grace and blessings of senior Vaishnavas into my life, that I can continue to apply the process of Krishna consciousness with intensity and focus. So thank you all very much for having me. I'm deeply grateful to be here. Microphone closer. Hare Krishna. Better? Oh, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaivan Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasapraya Shirabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. With the disappearance day of Srila Ishvara Puri, it's important to know that prior to meeting Srila Ishvara Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not displayed his Sankirtan pastimes yet. It was only after having met Srila Ishvara Puri did he really begin to manifest the Sankirtan pastimes of chanting and dancing ecstatically in the association of devotees in Navadvip Dham. Previous to that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was known as Nimai Pandit, and he was considered by the Vaishnavas of Navadvip to appear as an arrogant and somewhat proud scholar. And he was known for going around Navadvip and just defeating people in logic. He was such a logician that he could propose one argument and then people would be completely bewildered by that argument, and then he could counteract that argument, and then counteract that argument again. And this was significant because in Navadvip at the time, Navadvip was considered to be the school of learning of all of India. It was considered to be a very powerful place in terms of education and scholarship. So many logicians and many philosophers flocked to Navadvip, but the condition of Navadvip at that time, which is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, is that it was extremely dry. People were taking shelter of logic not for the purpose of applying that in the Lord's service, but for the purpose of just, juggling their own intellectual ability. And simultaneously, people were absorbed in ritualistic activities like ceremonial marriages, worshiping of Shasti, who is it's kind of like a goddess, a village goddess in Bengal who oversees and cares for children, the protection of children. So people were very much absorbed in these ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas, and they weren't catching the essence of transcendental life, catching the essence of the Vedas. Prema Pumartha Mahan. They weren't understanding that the ultimate goal of the human form of life is actually to develop love for Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he positioned himself in such a way to show how foolish logic actually was by creating these arguments and counter-arguments in the name of logic. So he would walk down the street, stop people, argue with them, defeat their arguments, re-defeat his arguments, and just continue on. And he would do this continually. And all the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan, all the Vaishnavas of Navadvip, they felt, this Nimai Pandit is so beautiful, and he's so talented. But if he could just be a devotee, it would be so wonderful. This pastime which the Lord displays with his devotees, we shouldn't think that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some people could, with a empiric understanding of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, gazing upon Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes as if they're the seer, as if they can draw final conclusions on the basis of their intellect, mind, and senses, may look at these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a gifted scholar, he was a spiritual reformer, but he wasn't the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we see in the pastimes of Krishna pastimes of transcendence, and lifting Govardhan Hill, and making the universe appear from his mouth. If he was really such a transcendental person, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have applied these same pastimes in his own life. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a manifestation of divinity, such a incarnation of the Lord, that he's coming in the mood of a devotee in order to expound the perfect principles of devotional service. As Srila Prabhupada often says in his commentaries, that Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and he said, "Surrender unto me." But he didn't present any practical example of how to. So the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, as it's rightly said in the name, it's the nectar of the character of transcendence. Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the very name. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is displaying the activities of someone who is transversing the path of Sharanagati. Someone who is walking the path of surrender. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing what that surrender actually looks like. So in order to set an example by first defeating the scholars of Navadvip and showing them how foolish their ideas and of logic being such a superior form of evidence and ultimate authority, first he defeated the logicians all throughout Navadvip. Even when he was a young boy, the age of 8 years old, he was just teaching simple Sanskrit grammar. And this Keshava Kashmiri, who was a Digvijay Pandit, he would travel around India and engage in argument with different scholars and learned people of the time. And he was defeating all of them. And then he heard about this Nimai Pandit, so he came to Navadvip to debate with him. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even defeated him. And he actually made him a devotee. So all these pastimes were displayed by the Lord in order to show that logic was not the ultimate form of authority, and simultaneously by the devotees desiring that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu become a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sets the example that our coming into devotional service is not through our own volition, but it comes through the desires of the previous acharyas. You study the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and the Lilamrita and various other wonderful biographies which have been written about Srila Prabhupada. You'll notice that right at the time when Srila Prabhupada was really making an endeavor to start printing Back to Godhead magazine and start preaching and pushing on the instruction which his Guru Maharaj had given him, it was right around the time of 1938 and 1950. It was during the 40s when Back to Godhead magazine was starting to come out. And at that time, in America, Srila Prabhupada's first disciples were starting to become born. So the arrangement of the Lord, the plan of the Lord, is to not show his mercy directly upon the world, but to show his mercy through the medium of his devotees, and to set the example that the desire of a Vaishnava, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Sacha Sutta Priyayati, that the desire of a Vaishnava is so powerful. Srila Prabhupada says this in his song, Krishna Taba Punya Hombe Bai. That Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's desire is so strong to see the world become Krishna conscious that now I'm going and I'm executing the mission of my spiritual master. So it's the desire of the acharyas, it's the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the desires of his various associates which is making the world Krishna conscious. Sometimes we think we need to adjust standards or we need to adjust rules and regulations. And in some instances, we see the example of Srila Prabhupada. He was able to adapt to time, place, and circumstance and maintain the essential principles while simultaneously adjusting details. But the way in which people become devotees, the pure chanting of Krishna's holy names, the mass distribution of transcendental literature, the prasadam which has been cooked with the love and devotion of devotees, and bringing people into temples where there's a high standard of deity worship being followed, and bringing people to the holy dham, this panch angam bhakti. The primary purpose of adjusting details is in order to expose people to this panch angam bhakti, which is so powerful that just by a little bit of contact with it, one's faith can develop immensely. So it's not through our intellectual plans necessarily to preach which spreads Krishna consciousness. What spreads Krishna consciousness is the desires of the previous acharyas and our sincere desire to want to represent their message. So in order to show this example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was appearing like a Monday logician. But then he showed through the example of his devotees that because they desired him to become Krishna conscious, he would eventually become Krishna conscious. And this manifests through his first meeting with Srila Ishvara Puri. Srila Ishvara Puri was the disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri, who is the exalted Vaishnava coming in the lineage of Sri Madhva Acharya, in which at the time of Madhvacharya there was great emphasis on the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti, but a lack of the spirit of that devotion. And Srila Madhavendra Puri manifested the first hint of this deep mood of devotion coming in the realm of Vrindavan by reciting this verse, which Srila Prabhupada and Kaviraj Goswami explain, was only understood by Madhavendra Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Srimati Radharani herself. And the verse is, I dina deyadarnatha he, mathuranatha kadaba lokshase, hridayam tamaloka kartaram, dayata brahmati kim karomyaham. It's a prayer in which Srimati Radharani is feeling immense separation from Krishna. And she's saying, now that the Lord of my life, Mathuranath, has left, I don't know how my life is going to continue on. Madhavendra Puri manifested this mood of devotion, and he carried this mood of devotion with him everywhere he went, through his pastimes of going to receive chandan for his deity Gopal in Vrindavan. This mood of separation is not necessarily an emotional disposition per se. That is there, and that's an important part of it. But in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Jiva Goswami explains that in pure devotional service, there's always two considerations. There is a bhava rupa, which is the emotion of devotion. And then there is a chaitasa rupa, which is the practical activity. And we see in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, he often put emphasis on the practical engagement of our mind and senses in the service of the Lord. And this mood of separation, although very exalted, although very beyond our reach to fully comprehend the depth of that mood of devotion, is acceptable by the example of those devotees who carry that mood. And in the life of Madhavendra Puri, this external display of the mood of separation is displayed in his willingness to undergo all inconveniences, all personal inconvenience, all scarcity of resources, and all unforeseen obstacles in order to serve his Lord. This is the practical expression of someone who's experiencing separation from Krishna. That prananastu saeva na paraha. That in any circumstance that you put me in, whether it's materially comfortable or materially uncomfortable, I am going to go on serving you. And this is the practical example of Madhavendra Puri. And Srila Ishvara Puri, he became the primary recipient of this mood of devotion. This full mood of devotion was invested into Ishvara Puri due to his humble service attitude. At the time of Madhavendra Puri's passing, which many Vaishnavacharyas say took place in Ramuna, he was feeling immense separation from Krishna. And one particular disciple, Ramachandra Puri, was saying, we're all Brahman. What are you crying for Krishna for? You just need to realize that you are Aham Brahmasmi. Madhavendra Puri said, get this rascal out of here. I never want to see him again. And then we see in Ishvara Puri, he was humbly cleaning the stool and urine of Madhavendra Puri, going on serving and simultaneously reading the Srimad Bhagavatam to him and nourishing his mood of devotion, his mood of separation from Krishna. So because of that humble service attitude with which Ishvara Puri displayed to Madhavendra Puri, he became an emblem in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya for Guru Seva. And because of that Guru Seva, which he perfectly embodied, he was chosen by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear as his spiritual master. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the name of going to Gaya to perform the Shraddha ceremony of his father, he met Ishvara Puri, and he became completely elated to meet such a person as Ishvara Puri, because as it said, Yasyatma Budi Kunapetri Datuke Swadi Kalateshu the Boma Ijadi Yatirtha Budi Shalilena Karichit Janeshu Abigeshu Saeva Gokaraha. That to consider this material body to be oneself, to consider the family members in relationship to this body to be one's most dear ones, to consider the land in which one was born to be a worshipable place, and to go to holy places to take a bath, but not hear from transcendental people, hear from transcendental sadhus. Such activity is considered to be no better than the activity of an animal. There's no life in that activity. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt that meeting Ishvara Puri was the same as King Yudhishthira seeing Vidura after Yudhishthira's long pilgrimage. Baba Bidad Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirtha Kurvanti Tirthani Svatastena Gataprita. That a saintly person like Ishvara Puri, he may go to a holy place and reside in that holy place, but he's the one which is purifying the holy place, And the purpose of that holy place is to get association with such a personality. King Yudhishthira is glorifying Vidura in this way. And in the same way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies Ishvara Puri. So they had many exchanges. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested that he cook for Ishvara Puri, which he did. And then simultaneously, Ishvara Puri said, I hear you're a very learned scholar. I have some books which I have written. I was wondering if you could edit them for me. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, who am I to edit the works of such a personality as you? And he said, no, just take a look at it and let me know what you think. So he took a look at it and he said, there's one thing. You could adjust this vowel in a particular way and it could improve the clarity of the sentence. Ishvara Puri said, all right. So then overnight, Ishvara Puri was looking, and then the next morning he went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, I considered your suggestion, but I came to the conclusion that actually what I wrote is proper. There's no need to edit it. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this pastime in order to show that he had become subordinated to Ishvara Puri. The culture of India at that time was such that if you were a scholar, if you were a traveling sadhu who was very learned in Shastra, and you got into a debate and you defeated someone, those people would have to accept you as their disciples. This was found in the pastimes of Madhva Acharya when he met Panaba Tirtha and Narahari Tirtha. They were both learned scholars living in South India near the Godavari, and they both became defeated by Madhva Acharya and were accepted as disciples. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted initiation from Ishvara Puri, and at the time of initiation, he was told that, you're a fool, actually, and you're not qualified to study Vedanta. So you should just chant the names of Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started chanting the names of Krishna, and he started to experience Romanchakampam, Shutaranga Bhajo, that the different transformations of ecstatic love began to arise in him. Shivering of the body, tears pouring profusely, rolling on the ground, experiencing symptoms of complete madness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely intoxicated with ecstatic love of God due to the initiation of Ishvara Puri. This is very unique, but it sets an example for us that Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atmar Samarpan. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Sanatana Goswami that at the time of initiation one accepts the process of surrender, and that process of surrender makes one as transcendental as Krishna. For us, that Atmar Samarpan may be a life of applying the principles of surrender. Atmar Samarpan means surrender to the process of devotional service. Now, Atmar Samarpan for ourselves, it may mean a lifetime of applying the practice of devotional service, applying the process of chanting Hare Krishna, and making incremental progress in that process. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately began to display symptoms of ecstatic love. Whereas for us, it may take a lifetime, and then maybe only at the fag end of our life, when we're on our deathbed, will those ecstatic symptoms begin to manifest themselves. But if one has tried to apply the process of devotional service sincerely their entire life, it is guaranteed that at some point Krishna will reciprocate with that sincere endeavor to want to serve and surrender. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started experiencing these ecstatic symptoms, and he approached Ishvara Puri. He said, Guru Maharaj, I don't know what type of mantra you've given me. I'm going completely insane with love for Krishna. What kind of mantra have you given me? And Ishvara Puri, he said, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gantiranyata. He said, very good. You have perfected the process of chanting Hare Krishna. And then he said, he quoted a verse which Srila Prabhupada explains is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the whole point of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam vrata swapriyanama kirtya jatanurago jutachutta uchayar Hastiyuto rotiti rotigayan unmadava ninanti lokabayaha. That when one accepts a vow to chant the holy names of chanting Krishna's names, the byproduct is that in due course of time, one becomes mad with ecstatic symptoms of love. One begins rolling on the ground, crying profusely, and becomes completely oblivious to all public opinion through this chanting of Hare Krishna. So he blessed his disciple. He said, "My dear boy, this is good. You've perfected the process of chanting, and now please follow this instruction. Nachogao bhakta sange kara sankirtan nachogao bhakta sange kara sankirtan Krishna nama upadeshe tara sarvajan." He said, "My dear boy, go on chanting and dancing like this. Go on continuing to chant the holy names in divine love, Nachogao Bhakta Sanghe, in the association of devotees. And furthermore, Krishna Nam Upadeshe Tara Sarvajan. You go out and you teach the entire world about this process of chanting Hare Krishna." So it was this pastime of Ishvara Puri initiating Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that broke open the storehouse of love of God. And right at that point, that's when Lord Nityananda began to travel and preach with Haridas Thakur, and all of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were commissioned to go out and spread the Sankirtan movement in their respective locations. So on a day such as today, where we have the opportunity to remember a great personality such as Ishvara Puri, we have the opportunity to pray for his mercy in order to become empowered to give Krishna consciousness to others in the same way that he empowered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And furthermore, that our focus can be such that although there may be the peripheries of the Krishna consciousness movement, there may be many considerations which apparently seem important, but may not be capturing the essence of our practice. If we can follow in the footsteps of Ishvara Puri, who put complete focus on the chanting of the holy names, then we can go beyond all of those peripheries. And if even we have the opportunity to hear one pure name, one time in our entire life, all the struggles, all the difficulties, all the disappointments in the course of our practicing Krishna consciousness will be all worth it. That's how valuable the holy name is. As Srila Rupa Goswami says, Nikila Shruti Mali Ratnamala, Nikila Shruti Mali Ratnamala, I recite this every morning and now it's escaping my mind. Nikila Shruti Maliratnamala Yuti Pararjita Padam Padanjika Aimuktu Kule Rupasyamanam Paritaswam Harinam Samsharami. Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that in the morning, the Upanishads are worshiping the tips of the toes of the holy name. And what are they worshiping with? They're worshiping with the jewels of their Siddhantic conclusions. So this shows that everything is pointing to the holy name. Everything is pointing to the pure holy name, that pure chanting of the holy name, that pure absorption in the holy name. And that if one can get just a moment of association with that holy name and find within the inner depths of their heart a molecule of sincerity to chant that name with complete eagerness and complete dependence, then Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, Paritwasam Harinam Samsharami. To that holy name which the Upanishads are worshiping, I surrender completely. Now this is the whole focus of our movement. The Hare Krishna movement is called the Hare Krishna movement because we're giving the great jewel of chanting the holy names of Krishna. So if we can surrender ourselves to the lifestyle which has been given by the previous acharyas, surrender to the conclusions which have been given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada, and carefully follow those principles in our life without becoming deviated by the various distractions of bhukti and mukti, it's trying to escape material distress or trying to chase after material comfort, if we can somehow walk that fine line of pure devotional service and take full shelter of the holy name, no matter what struggles come, no matter what obstacles are there, no matter how many disappointments or setbacks may be, if we take full shelter of the holy name, our life will be considered a success. So I think we have Hare Krishna. I think, yeah. Well, I kind of, Prabhu brought up Ishvara Puri, and yeah, 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 sure. Kamas indriya pritir labo jivet yavata jivasya tattva jignasa nartho yascheha karmavi. That whatever you have to do to keep your mind and body together, follow that. But understand that the majority of our time, tattva jignasya. Another perspective, this is the Bhagavatam's conclusion, which comes in the first canto of the second chapter. Sutta Goswami just comes out and says that right away. Another perspective which can help our consciousness be elevated, because that that disposition to keep body and soul together, there's a chance due to the cheating propensity which is present in the conditioned soul that we may take advantage of that injunction. So in order to go beyond that injunction, we need to train our consciousness in Siddhanta. And there's this nice verse which comes in the Brahma Vimohana Lila at the end of it, where Sukadev Goswami is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, and Maharaj Parikshit is asking the question, how can these cowherd boys have given so much, how could have Krishna given so much pleasure to the residents of Vrindavan when he replaced those cowherd boys with himself? How is it possible? How can we understand that it brought more bliss for that entire year? Vrindavan was more blissful than it ever was because of that, even though there was their own children. And Sukadev Goswami, he says, Atmanam Akhilatmanaha, that Krishna is ultimately the soul of our soul. So we are concerned about the comfort of our material body because it belongs to ourself. And we're concerned about the condition of our society because it's connected to our body. We're concerned about the needs of our family because they're connected to our body. And all of these things need to be dealt with properly and in a balanced way. But simultaneously, if we look a little bit higher and move in the direction of where the Bhagavatam is trying to bring us, then we come to the conclusion that even more dear to us than our body is our own self. It's just like if you fly on an airplane, if anyone has done that before, when they're going through security announcements, which no one listens to anymore, they tell you that if in case of an emergency or a case in a loss of cabin pressure, mask will fall. You put the mask on yourself and then you put it on your children. Why is it that first you put the mask on yourself? Because what's more dear to even our family, our society, is our own self. That's the most dear thing to anyone. If you want to win the heart of someone, you just ask them to speak about themselves. That's what book distribution is all about, is just getting people to glorify themselves, and you glorify them. So what's more dear to one's body is oneself. the most dear thing to oneself is the body, and even more dear than the body is one's consciousness. And even more dear than the consciousness of one individual is Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vididati Kaman. That atomic particle of consciousness, who we are, has its original relationship with Eko Bahunam, the original source of consciousness. And even more dear to ourselves than ourselves is Krishna. So we see the acharyas, despite the fact there may be personal inconvenience, despite the fact that there may be material discomfort, they're willing to undergo those austerities for the purpose of pleasing Krishna, because they see that the ultimate comfort of who I am is the pleasure of Krishna in my service to him. That's another perspective. There's the daily practical things which we need to do in order to keep body and soul together, but then a higher conclusion that we can adjust our consciousness to move towards is that the most dear thing to me is my surrender to Krishna. And that takes priority before any material comfort, so-called material comfort, which I may have. Because even if I'm in the most material opulent condition, if I don't have service to Krishna, it will be completely miserable. Is that okay, Prabhu? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We have like 3 minutes left. Is there any other questions from any other senior Vaishnavas? Or comments? Yes. So I mentioned it briefly, but just to give a full synopsis, I was kind of trying to do things in broad strokes. So Ishvara Puri, he took this position of serving his spiritual master extremely humbly, without any consideration of personal inconvenience. He was just completely concerned to see that his spiritual master could be comfortable and could be in a position in which he could be absorbed in remembering Krishna at the time of his death. That pastime, it comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Antya Lila. I think it's chapter 5 or 9. I forget. I think maybe 7, actually. And it's speaking about the criticism of Ramachandra Puri. So this pastime comes in order to show the difference between a disciple who is Bahirmukh Jana, someone who's has an external perspective of the spiritual master, and has simultaneously not had fidelity to the Vani which is coming from the spiritual master. And then Ishvara Puri, who has captured the essence of the spiritual master and has been able to serve him with a sincere mood of humility and surrender, and simultaneously nourish his spiritual master's mood of absorption at the time of passing. So to connect with the heart of the spiritual master in such a way is the real wealth of a disciple. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Vansha kalpatarumbhischa kripasindhadevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam
Tam Buddha Sundarangam Tandar Ako Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Van Vikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Maya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Ramsekaro Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Sri Gadadhar Sri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki, Sri Vrindavan Dham ki, Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Shri Gangamai Jamunamai ki, Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Priya Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Prashadam Sankirtan ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinda ki, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, Srila Prabhupada.
Chaitodarpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Puri Vardhanam Pradidam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amrita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatad bhaktir hoita ki twai ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam mishame bhavam buddha kripayata bhavat kankaja stita duli sadrashim vachintaya nayanam garadashu daraya varanam gadgada hridaya gira pulakarnishitam vapukada Tavanamagrahane Vavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishya Papadam Ratam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatas Saeva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of his feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shastra Ki Jai.
We'd like to welcome Devavrata Prabhu, who is on a very specific mission. I'll let him tell you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I am here in order to interview devotees regarding the life of His Grace Gopi Pranadana Prabhu. So I'm helping compile a biography, and I've been given the service of interviewing devotees. So if anyone has any memories with Gopi Pranadana Prabhu, I'm happy to meet. I think what I'm going to do is in the afternoon at 4 o'clock is in the afternoon the deities open in the temple? 4:15. So from 4:30 onward, I'll sit in the temple, and any devotees that want to come and do an interview, they're welcome to come here. And if for whatever reason, health considerations, you'd like me to come to your place, I can also do so. But I'll sit in here at 4:30 for any devotees that would like to come and do an interview regarding the life of Gopi Pranadana Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
And I'd like to remind everyone that at 6 this evening here in the temple, we'll be reading Prabhupada Lilamrita. So before you come to read Prabhupada Lilamrita, you can come and be interviewed. Hare Krishna.